Al-Ahram was distributing all the Egyptian press, about 90% of the Egyptian press. So every day I got a report of the distribution of pro-government newspapers and anti-government newspapers.
So you were printing also non-government newspapers that are not Al-Ahram?
We take money from the opposition, from the Muslim Brothers, for anybody who give us money, we will take it and print it and take it to, and we used to, my staff used to put that onto a map. And we took 3 newspapers pro-government and 3 opposition newspapers against government. And we put, when the anti-government is more, we made it in red, and if it is government, we put it in green. No value judgment in green or red, so it is just colors. And until September last year, 2010, the green was the majority in the map. It was the elections of 2010, then the red started to increase. That was in about September, October, November, and then the last, after the 2 Saints church was incident, which is a big one, which I think played a role in changing the direction of the Coptic minority in Egypt to be against the state. That was a guaranteed, supporters of the state, because they feel the state is a protector of the minorities. And once that incident happened, I think there was a big shift that the state incapable of doing that. And the whole map became red. So, it is also, I don't know, how that we can make the interpretation later, that when you have an aging regime, ossified, staying in power, they don't head really to the advice, to the basic information, because that was available to them. And other public opinion polling and many things showed a rise of anger unprecedented in Egypt, starting from September 2010 until the time of the revolution. That could be, feeling that there is a hurricane coming, not Irene, but probably something to Egypt. And I was in a trip with the president into the Gulf countries, and he used to come and sit with journalists after, he makes the trip to give a brief. And at the end of, talking with other journalists, I asked him, Mr. President, we have 9 months to the presidential elections. Do you intend to do something that, give a direction to what the next stage will be for the country? He asked me, like what? I said, number 1, changing the cabinet. I thought that the cabinet lost momentum, that reform is slow, that the impacts of the international economic crisis hit the country, and now, it's making the whole economic reforms slow. And I give my reasoning why we need to change the cabinet. And the second was to make constitutional reforms on the famous, in Egypt, 3 articles, 76, 77, and 88. These are crucial ones related to the terms of the president and how to be elected and stuff like this. And he was silent for about 10 seconds or 15, and then he said, well, I will do that after. I mean, that's a direct conversation. After I finish with the presidential election. So he feels that he got the whole time in the world to do things. A friend of mine was into the process of the negotiations in the last hours of the regime. His name was Hussam Badrawi. He was appointed as Secretary General of the National Democratic Party after the revolution started, and he was negotiating, asking the president that he should leave. And he had an individual meeting with the president and told him, Mr. President, you have a Ceausescu moment. And he said it in English, not in Arabic. And the president, we couldn't say it in Arabic, you just...
You can't pronounce Ceausescu in Arabic?
No, you know, saying a Ceausescu moment, you know, he want to tell him you are facing a catastrophe, your family might be killed. I mean, that is a very bloody event. And the president answered also in English, is that bad? So he didn't really realize how the situation
I mean, he asked, is it that bad?
Is it that bad? So
Is the situation?
Yeah, is the situation that bad?
Yeah, the situation outside that bad. So I don't think it could have not happened, you know, having that discrepancy between the ability of the system to absorb the serious and fundamental evolution and change that was taking place already in the country. And probably the reason for it was the system itself. I mean, by opening to media, by expanding on the market economy and other things that created that kind of a new wave. But historians and who know more about dialectics can probably get better interpretation of what really happened.